Hello and welcome to the Providence College Podcast. My name is Joe Carr. Wednesday, April 10th is Friars Give, PC's annual 24-hour giving day. Funds raised on Wednesday will support various initiatives that shape the PC experience for its students, and it's a chance for the entire community to band together to show support for the college and for those students. Joining us today is someone with an up-close perspective, Cate Latz, a recent graduate from the class of 2013. Cate is PC's Assistant Director of Prospect Research and Management in the college's Office of Institutional Advancement. Thanks for joining us, Cate.
Thanks for having me, Joe.
So tell us about your job. What is it that you do? What does that mean?
So I've worked in institutional advancement for a little over 5 years now since I graduated. And Prospect Research and Management, I help all of our frontline fundraisers manage their portfolios and also help generate new prospects for Providence College.
So it's a lot of digging into some details and really specific kind of work and finding out about people.
Absolutely. Lots of data, lots of research.
Sounds interesting. So let's talk specifically about Friars Give. Coming up, it's right in front of us. We're recording this 5 days before it will happen, but it'll be Wednesday, April 10th, and it's really an all-out effort certainly for the entire advancement team and for a lot of people around the college. So what's it like in institutional advancement in the few days right before Friars Give?
Oh, it is busy. We are all running around. As I was actually on my way here, I ran into two separate groups of student workers carrying supplies over to Harkins for April 10th. So really everybody's involved. We're all running around testing, making sure everything's working properly, getting all of the fun stuff together, the posters, the candy, lining up all the snacks and the fun surprises for that day. So it's really an all-hands-on-deck event. In addition to being a social media activity and in addition to the college using various digital means to engage people and of course to inspire people to donate, a lot happens on campus. It's really fun. It's kind of a festival from the minute you come on the campus that day until the minute you leave. You're going to know you're involved in something different, right? Absolutely. I think if you're on campus that day, you can't miss it. There's going to be Philanthropy cabs driving all over the place. You can hop and get a ride to class. There's going to be snacks. There's going to be special opportunities for photo walls and opportunities to vote on certain things throughout the day. So it's really more than just what you'll see on social media. This is the third year, and the first two have been very successful, and certainly hopes are high for the 2019 edition, and it's called Friars Give. That's a new name this year, but the stated goal is to engage 5,000 donors. Why is that important? Why is a number of donors something that a college fundraising organization would focus on for an event like this? Absolutely. So our alumni giving percentage is one of the most important factors for PC. Our alumni giving percentage is literally the number of our alumni that give back each year, and it's on an annual basis. And not only does this reflect the number of people that support the college and believe in the college that went here, but it also helps with college rankings. People like U.S. News and World Report look at the alumni giving percentage when they rank us amongst our peers. So if you really want to show PC that you valued your experience here and also show others that it's worth coming here and making that experience special, the number of donors is really, really important. Is it also important to begin to develop the habit of engaging with the college through fundraising shortly after people have graduated? Absolutely. You can't begin a habit until you start doing something regularly. And giving back is an important habit, but also giving back in an intentional and careful way. And I think if you get in the habit of giving to PC every year, you'll really get to know PC, you'll really be involved in what's going on and what initiatives are there, and you can make a more custom impact to what you're interested in the more you're involved. And that's really important too, isn't it, with respect to messaging and communicating about events like this, even by way of follow-up, to demonstrate the impact. Absolutely. Because we want people to know what has happened because they've been generous, right? Absolutely. When we talk about fundraising days like this, they typically feature a number of challenges, and Friars Give is no exception. I'd like to talk about one of those challenges in particular, a challenge issued to the Friars of the last decade, or FOLD as we call it here at PC. And those are people who have graduated within the past 10 years. That group happens to include you. If 600 FOLD members make a gift on April 10th, that will trigger a $15,000 contribution from Megan Smith, who's a great Friar and a member of the class of 1991. What do you tell other young alumni about why it's important to engage the college and to participate in something like this in this way? Absolutely. So I like to point at people like Meg Smith, who've been really, really generous to PC, really since she's graduated and her time out. And being a young alum, luckily, I'm still part of the fold, and I know how hard it is to give back. I have student loans. We all do. We all have rising expenses, rising rates of living, just struggling to make ends meet in a lot of cases. But that's why I think when you look back at the number of donors rather than the amount that you're giving, that really shows the power in numbers. And the more donors you have, it starts to not matter the amount that they're giving. But one thing I really like to think about with people our age is that when you think back to your PC experience, how much of a difference did $5 or $10 or $15 or $25 make to that club you were a part of or the organization that you were a part of, and how much those little things can add up to make a difference for the students that are here today. And you can do that both by giving to the Fund for Providence College, and you can do that by also giving to a specific area.
And that's the way Friars Give is set up, including having these various challenges. It is designed so that people can be pretty specific about their gift and perhaps help support something that was particularly meaningful to them, or more generally, donate directly to the Fund for Providence College.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the important things to highlight. I think people don't realize all the time that you can check that other box and write in whatever you want. And I would be pretty shocked if we didn't have a designation that aligned with it. If you can find one, I would be surprised, but you can absolutely give to the area of your choice.
If you do find one, let us know.
Yes, please do.
Next year, be sure to have it there, right, for anybody to find. So the website for Friars Give is, perhaps not surprisingly, friarsgive.org. It's live now. You can check it out and keep an eye on your email and your social media feeds next Wednesday for information about exactly how to participate. And the college's social media channels will be very lively on that day. We'll have off and on live programming, interviews with people from various parts of our community. We're hoping to tap into the energy of the hockey team's presence at that point, at the Final Four in Buffalo. So pretty exciting time, and it's something we all look forward to. It's a big deal, but it's really a lot of fun to execute.
Really exciting. I definitely recommend go to friarsgive.org now, check out the page, check out the different tiles and the different challenges and the different ways that you can give on that day. And I also encourage you to check out the social media sections. There's a lot of really awesome shareable graphics that have been put together for every social media platform out there. Get them up and spread the word.
Even in advance, we could do some of those things.
Definitely.
You're an Instagram expert and brilliant on Instagram, so many people should follow you there and get some tips about some of the ways to use these graphics and other information in social media feeds in interesting and fun ways. So there's a lot there. Let's talk a little bit more about you and your background, Cate. So a lot of not only your work, but your interests are related to, in one way or another, philanthropy. What caused that interest in you? Where does that come from?
So it's funny to think about, because I think in a lot of ways I came to Providence College to forge my own path, and I sort of fell into the family business. I was interested in philanthropy and in community service a lot when I was in high school at Fenwick in Chicago, also Dominican, go Friars. And the idea of giving back and doing it in a strategic and meaningful way was something that always really interested me. Not just giving to what's the hot topic right now, but who's serving that community the best or who's making the biggest impact. So came to Providence College and majored in public and community service. That was one of the things that interested me when I got here, and ended up continuing on working in institutional advancement as a student, being part of the senior giving committee, and then came to work at PC afterwards.
Tell us a little more about the family business that you referenced.
Sure. So my dad is a fundraising consultant in Chicago, and my mom has done a lot of political fundraising in her lifetime. So I grew up around the fundraising language. You just start to hear it, you start to know it. And when I started to experience it from more of the professional side, not just hearing my dad talk about it at night, I really started to realize how much I knew about it and how much I liked it. So,
how much does it help you when you're communicating about the impact of fundraising to be able to draw on your own experiences, perhaps as from when you were a student at PC or even before or around that?
Absolutely. So I was a scholarship recipient when I was at PC, and so I personally have been impacted by philanthropy in that way, but also was part of a number of different experiences at PC that were funded by some really generous donors, one of which including the philanthropy class, which I know we'll talk about a little bit later, but being part of those experiences that shaped my experience here so much that would not have been possible without philanthropy.
The philanthropy class. Let's go to that now. So you took it and now you teach it. How did that all come about, and what's it like to teach a class at a college?
So the philanthropy class was hands down my favorite class at PC. I had Bill Allen was my professor, and Amanda Heinsohn, who's from the class of 2009, was the co-professor at the time. And I really took that class almost like a job. The way it's set up is half of the class is about the theory and the study about philanthropy and different vehicles of philanthropy and industry and regulations or lack thereof. And then the other half of the class, you get to actually act as the board of a foundation. The Learning by Giving Foundation gives actual money to these students that get to write a request for proposals, put it out to the community in the local Providence area, and solicit grant proposals. They review those grant proposals, and then they actually fund real programs and give out real grants at the end of the semester. So it's quite a whirlwind.
And now you teach this class.
So now I co-taught it this past semester with Dana Dillon. I'll be co-teaching it again next semester with Rick Battistoni.
Two, by the way, faculty members, Dana in theology, Dana Dillon, Professor Dillon, and Professor Battistoni in public and community service. So well known to Friar alumni from recent years for sure.
Absolutely. I actually had both of them in my undergrad, so it's been fun to do this alongside of them. But yeah, so the Learning by Giving class, or the Learning by Giving Foundation, has continued to support the class at PC, and we've also had some additional support from the on-campus Dunkin' Donuts revenue. A portion of that is dedicated to this class, which is really awesome because students and faculty who are spending money in that on-campus Dunkin' Donuts get to make an impact off-campus. And then we also had a couple other generous alums contribute to the class this year. So we gave out, I believe it was $28,000 this past semester.
Really? So that connection to the Learning by Giving Foundation has opened another door for you. You've become involved in that organization's work specifically. Tell us more about that.
It has. So when I graduated from PC, started working here, I was on the corporate and foundation relations side. And I went up to visit with Learning by Giving, and they told me that they were really interested in starting this alumni initiative. And I was an alumni of the class. So they started talking about this idea to really connect people in Boston, and one thing led to another. And now I'm the co-chair of what we call the Emerging Leaders Network. I'm the co-chair of the council. And the network is a group in Boston. We aim to educate, engage, and equip the next generation of philanthropic leaders in Boston. So what does that mean? That means we bring together alumni of the class, but also people that didn't get a chance to take this class that might work in any industry but be interested in learning more about philanthropy and how to be a more effective donor. So we have a series of events. We have some networking opportunities. We have an online portal presence that you can join. And it's really just a way to bring young people together around learning how to make a greater impact.
Without knowing anything much about it, one would imagine probably that this involves largely people from nonprofit organizations. Is that the case or not?
It does, but I think actually one of the most interesting parts about it is, so the Learning by Giving Foundation, I should mention, was started by Doris Buffett, Warren Buffett's sister. And she really wanted to engage people across any industry. And as you know, often people that sit on foundation boards or even corporate philanthropy boards don't necessarily come from the nonprofit world. So we have people from every industry. I think we actually probably have more people from the for-profit business side than we do the nonprofit side that have gravitated towards this and become interested in it.
What do you gain from access to people from other industries and who have different kinds of perspectives on this same kind of work?
Oh, that's one of the most fun parts about this, and it kind of replicates what happens in the class. So the philanthropy class at PC is cross-listed between public service and management, but it also fulfills a core requirement in civic engagement. So I think I had a student from almost every major in our class last semester. I had everyone from theater majors to theology majors to business majors to public and community service majors, and having those people around the table and having those kind of really difficult conversations and making those decisions that don't really have a right or wrong answer, it helps you learn how other people make decisions, but it also helps you learn about different ways to evaluate or different ways to consider impact.
So when you teach, you have a veteran professor right there with you, certainly some experience there, but what's it like? What's it feel like to find yourself in that role in a classroom?
It's been exciting to be able to share my experiences in a way that can kind of help other people and shape what they think. And it's also really, really fun to see that change happen at certain points in the course where that kind of light bulb turns on, or they have a certain moment where they realize one of those key learning objectives. But really, one of the most fun parts about the course, and one of the things Dana and I talked about a lot, was I had never taught before and she had, but I took this course before and she hadn't. And as a professor of this course, you're really more of a facilitator. The Learning by Giving Foundation refers to us as facilitators. And the reason is because we're not telling them what to think or how to evaluate this. It's really created by the students, and you just kind of point things out along the way or try to guide them and make sure they're thinking about the situation as a whole.
It must be gratifying to know that you're having an impact on somebody who might go into this kind of work or in some other way have an impact on an organization through involvement in philanthropy.
Absolutely. I think a lot of this stuff you don't learn until you're in the working world. So to learn it while you're a student and in an educational environment where you can ask questions and try new things is a really, really valuable opportunity.
Yeah, interesting stuff. So speaking of interesting, your family's connections to PC are more than interesting. How many siblings are?
So 3 of my 4 siblings came here. I was the first. I'd like to point out that I started the connection to PC. My siblings, a couple of them actually gave me a hard time when I was moving out here. But I've had 3 siblings go to PC. Both my parents have been involved in the Providence Parents Council, and my mother's been involved with some of the documentary production for PC as well.
One of your sisters is still a student, right?
Yes, my sister Bridget is a junior, class of 2020.
2020.
My sister Janine is class of 2018, and Leo's class of 2015.
There we go. So it's a great connection for sure. We'll talk more about your mother in just a moment. But you come from, as you mentioned earlier, to PC from Fenwick High School in Chicago.
That's right.
This is a long-term connection, which has really brought a lot of people from Chicago to Providence for college. Tell us a little more about Fenwick High School and how that pipeline has worked.
Sure. So a lot of people at Fenwick joke that Providence College is Fenwick U. The logo is very similar. The mascot is the same. Whenever I'm wearing a T-shirt from one of the other schools in the other place, people are like, "Oh, where'd you get that? That's different. That's cool." But I think it's true in a way because it's a Dominican institution run by Dominican friars. So there's a lot of the same feeling of being here, and that was one of the things that struck me the most when I came here. Was there was just this very communal, welcoming, encouraging feeling of being on this campus. And I really, really liked that about Fenwick and PC. And there were a lot of people that have gone to Fenwick before me. We actually had an event at Fenwick a couple of years ago that we had like 65 people come to, both incoming students that were looking at coming to PC and people that had graduated. And, you know, it goes back to people that my dad went to high school with. My dad went to Fenwick, and he had friends that went to Providence College. So it's a strong connection, and the more people that come here, the more people continue to come here. And we've got a great Providence College club out in Chicago that includes a bunch of Fenwick alums for the most part.
What's the Friar presence like at Fenwick High School? Is it similar to PC? Are Friars teaching in the classroom and involved in everything? It's
very similar. Yep. You walk down the hallway and see Friars. You have Friars for class. There are very rigorous requirements with theology classes at Fenwick and some retreats that you go on throughout the different years in high school. So it's definitely very similar in terms of the presence.
And your mother, you mentioned a couple of minutes ago, is a valued colleague of mine, and that's for sure. She's terrific. So we've interviewed on this podcast a while back Mike Leonard, who is class of 1970, Today Show correspondent for 35 years, and documentary filmmaker who was the driving force behind The Promise of Providence, the centennial film that the college commissioned a couple of years ago. But your mother was the executive producer, Mary Kay Wall, and Mike and your mom introduced the film when it debuted on campus in October a couple of years back. A huge project, beautifully done, and for both of them, certainly a labor of love. They've talked about it at length. What does she say to you about that experience?
Oh my gosh, she has said to me so many times that was one of the most meaningful things that she ever had the opportunity to work on. She loved that project. I think I talked to her a lot more than when she was doing that project, because we were constantly talking about PC's history and things I knew and things she knew. And I spent some time going down to the archives and going down to the Providence Public Library and going through the archives there. So that really was one of the best things she's ever done, I think.
You should have gotten a producer credit then.
I think I did somewhere in there. I better.
Okay. I'll have to go back and look at the credits one more time. But she started in working in politics.
She did.
And worked her way around to being involved in filmmaking.
Absolutely. And actually even loops in another Providence College Chicago connection. My mom worked for the Daley family, and Mayor Rich Daley actually went to Providence College for a few years before he went back to Chicago, and his father became mayor, and he finished at DePaul, the largest Catholic college in the country. And
Mary Kay Wall and Mike Leonard continue to develop programming and just great stuff, and it's really always fun to look at anything that they put together. They have a brilliant storytelling style, and they just dig out great stories and
Absolutely.
Make them so compelling. It's an incredible talent, and they use the mechanism of filmmaking in just beautiful ways.
Absolutely. I think they can make any story seem so impactful and really bring out all of the best parts of it and convey that on film.
I hope that people listening to us today have seen The Province of Providence. If not, Google it. It will come right up, and it's, I think, well worth your while. And just a hint, the very best part is the very end. So you have to watch the whole thing to get to that. So I was watching television last night, Cate, flipping through some channels, and I came across the Cubs and Braves. Oh. And I thought of you. You're the biggest Cubs fan I know. So so what do you think about the Cubbies this year?
We had a pretty great opening day, first game of the season. I'm feeling good about the Cubs. I would love to sneak out and go home again for another World Series. I made it home in 2016 and ended up getting to go to Game 5 of the World Series, which was pretty amazing. I was outside Wrigley when they won, so would love to experience that again.
Maybe a Red Sox-Cubs World Series someday. That's been close a couple of times, right? So.
Oh, yeah. Back in when the Red Sox first won in 2004, the Cubs were almost there, but that was one of our sad years.
Well, that's all right. The purists everywhere would enjoy that, I think. So it sounds like fun. Well, this has been fun, Cate. Thank you so much for joining us. And once again, Friars Give is coming up on Wednesday, April 10th. FriarsGive.org is the website. All the information is there in the run-up to that day, and we hope that you will take a look at that and notice the communications the college sends to you in email and in social media channels. It's a big day for the college, important to its future. A lot of people working very hard to make this a success, all with the goal of helping Providence College achieve its strategic goals and to do things to improve and constantly make better the student experience. So that's what that's all about. And it should be a good day for PC.
April 10th. Thanks so much, Joe.
And thank you for joining us today. You can subscribe to the Providence College podcast at all the usual places, including Spotify, and they're available on the college's YouTube channel. Feedback is welcome at podcast@providence.edu. Thanks to our producer, Chris Judge. I'm Joe Carr. Until next time.